Okay, we're gonna change the brushes on the Blizzard machine. And what we're gonna first do is take the cover off. So you got 4 Phillips screws. Okay, so we're gonna put them in a container here. And then we're gonna take off these side brackets here. And what you wanna do is use the impact driver, and you gotta put some body weight into it to crack it loose. And these screws here are a different pitch compared to the top one. So you gotta make sure you put them in a different container so you don't mix them up. And then we have some pause it. Okay, so we're gonna take off the top cover. Then we got some more screws here on the side we gotta take off. Okay. Now the back of the Blizzard machine has a cord, so you don't kink the cord and break the cord. I put a towel here. I tilt the Blizzard machine down so the body of the weight of the Blizzard machine is not on the cord. Then we got these 4 screws here to take off. Take this cover off. So a trick now is once you take this cover off, it wants to kind of dangle everywhere, and you want to break the speed control, which is right over here. So what you can do is you get a piece of wire and you can fish it through a hole here at the bottom, and there's another hole here, and then you can take this cover and then tie it together so there's no tension on the speed control wires. Okay, so now we can come over here and just hit pause for a sec. One of the brushes for the Blizzard machine is right here, which is pretty hard to get off, and there's a bracket here. So to make your life easier, you can mark the bracket which way it goes right here like this with a marker. And then you can get a number 3 Phillips, and you got the 1 screw here. And you have another one in the back. Okay, and then this bracket comes off like this. And it gives you a lot more access to get to the brushes of the motor. And there's another one on the other side. So we're gonna come on this side right here. So there's a bracket right here. And you can just kind of mark it. So that way a lot of times people forget which way it goes. Just one more here. And the bracket has a ground on it, so you can just kind of leave it off to the side here. When you go to install, it'll be easier. So now we have to open up the caps. You can use a Klein. A Klein screwdriver is pretty good with a small narrow tip. And then on a 45 there, you can just unloosen the cap of the Blizzard of the motor. So this is the bushing cap. Okay, so there's one brush right there, which is not that bad. And then we're gonna go on the other side, and then we're gonna do the same thing. So the cap is all the way here, okay? And then this one's been changed before, and you can tell it's a little bit damaged. Okay, so here's the brush bushing, so it's not that bad. And here's your part number for your motor brush set. So another thing is when you change the brushes, the armature is usually covered with dust, and what you want to do is you want to take the Blizzard machine outside and you want to blow the armature to get all the dust out. Okay, so we're outside now with the Blizzard machine. You're going to take an air compressor, and then what you want to do is take it right here, put it inside where the brushes are. At the same time, you want to spin the motor so you can get the armature pretty clean. And you can do it just from one side, or you can do it from both sides. Okay, so we're just motor. Okay, so that's it. Now we're gonna put the brushes back in. These ones aren't actually that bad, so we're gonna slide it back into the slot. Okay, and there's only one way it can go in, so you'll kind of figure out how it goes in. Okay, so once you get the copper spring back in there with the little dogtails, then you just take your cover. I use a screwdriver to hold it into place. Take the cover and you just want to kind of slide it, the screwdriver out, and put your cover back in. And then by hand, with your 2 fingers, you can start it, and then with your screwdriver you can continue it. Okay, so it's just a plastic cap. It doesn't actually need that much tightening. Okay, so that's one. The other one's a little bit more difficult. We're gonna swing this cover over. We're gonna get our brush, we're gonna get our cap. We're gonna come on this side, and you got a little bit of wires here. So what you want to do is take the brush, feel your way inside to the hole. Okay, so I'm going to take my screwdriver, I'm going to take my finger out and put my screwdriver in place. Then I'm going to take the cover, slide the cover over, take the screwdriver out, and then start tightening it up. Okay, just be careful not to cross thread it. This cover is damaged, so it's a little bit harder to get in. You can buy the covers separate. Okay, so we got that last one in, and then what you want to do is you want to take your brackets and you want to see where you marked them. So right here we have our mark on it, and you just line it up here underneath. You put one bracket, line it up, and you just look back here where the hole is, and then there's a locking washer on the screw here too, so you need a number 3 Phillips. Okay, and then you just put the other one in the front and you repeat it on the back side as well. Okay, so we're going to take out the Blizzard motor, and what you want to do first is you can loosen these screws right here. You got one Phillips here, total of 4 Phillips. Okay, and this will relieve the tension. You take the belt off, and then you got a pulley here. If it's a Blizzard machine, the motor's never been taken out, chances are there's red Loctite on the pulley, so you might have to you're gonna have to heat it up with a torch and use a puller to take it off. Otherwise, you probably won't be able to get it out. So we're gonna use an Allen key to crack the 2 Allen keys out, the locking things, and I believe it's on 1/8. So this is Imperial. It's made in the U.S. Usually in the U.S. they use Imperial sizes, so you just crack it loose. Okay, there's one, and there's another one here, and this one's been taken out, I believe, a few times because this Blizzard machine is pretty old. Okay, and then sometimes you'll be able to slide it off like that with your hand. If not, you're gonna have to use a puller. You can go to Canadian Tire, get like a 3-prong puller like this one right here, and take out the puller. This one's a little bit seized. Okay, so we got the puller on, and you just want to tighten it by hand, and then you can get an adjustable wrench and tighten it until it draws the pulley off. So there's your pulley. So we're going to take our nut driver, take off our Phillips screws. Okay, and then your motor, you can leave it there. Now you got to unhook the wires. So we got to come on this side, and you got a neutral and a hot wire, which is your black and your white wire. So if you get confused, you can snap a picture of where they go onto the control board. So you got your black wire over here, and then you got your white wire here. So what you can do is you can take a flathead screwdriver and just slide it off. Okay, and then what you can do, you can just mark it with a black marker that you know it's your black wire. You could also take a picture of it as well, so it's easier. And then we got our white wire here on the top. We're going to take that off. Okay, and then we're going to come on this side, and we're going to draw out our motor. So there's our motor right now. This one, chances are, it needs to be rebuilt, right? Good thing is we got a rebuilt motor right here, which has been rebuilt. Okay, so we're gonna take it, we're gonna drop it in, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold it up here with our left hand, or if you're right-handed, you can hold it with your right hand, and you can just start the screws by hand. So you put one there and one on this side. And if you're having a hard time, you can get someone to help you because the motor is a little bit heavy. So I got 2 of them on there, and then you can drop the motor, and you can just start the other 2. Okay, and you can take your nut driver with your Phillips on there and just draw it up. You don't want to tighten now because you want to adjust the belt. Okay, so there's your motor. And now what we have to do is we have to take our pulley and put it back on. So you want to take the Allen key, and one of the Allen keys needs to be on the flat part of the shaft so the pulley doesn't spin on you. So what you can do is just line it up here, okay? And then you're about 1/8 of an inch away from the top. And if you look here on this pulley too, if you want to be precise, you can throw a level on it and level it out that way. But then we just take our Allen key and we're going to tighten up her pulley on one here. So just let them set in, and then you can crank them tight after. Okay, so there's one. Here's the other one. Okay. Then what you want to do is you want to take your belt. You want to inspect your belt. This one has some cracks in it. It's not that bad, but for argument's sake, we'll change it. Okay. So we got a new one here, so we're going to slide over pulley. Okay. And then to do the tension, what you want to do is you take a flathead screwdriver and you put it right here on the bottom of the pulley, okay? And you just look to see, make sure our belt is on right. Okay, I'm going to just draw these screws up a little bit more because they're pretty low. Okay, so what you do is you take a flathead screwdriver, you put it here where the pulley is, and you put your tension on it, and you just want to give it a little bit of a slack, okay? And then you can tighten up your okay, so you just want to give it a little bit of about of 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch of play, right? You don't want it to be too tight because then you'll damage the bearings on the shaft here. Pause. Okay, so once you finish putting the new belt in, what we want to do is we're going to go on the other side and put our power supply back on the circuit board. So here's your black, here's your white. So you want to fish it through here. So the black goes right here, right where the fuse is, which is your hot wire, and your white is your neutral. Okay, so you put it there. So now what we can do is we can put our brackets back on. Now another thing is you want to check also when you, a lot of times when you put brand new motors in, you got to change the speed control, which is over here. So sometimes these speed controls do actually go bad. We don't have a brand new one. We have some old ones here that still work. So what we can do is we can change one right now just to show you guys how to do it. Okay, so pause it. Okay, so we're gonna put a speed control in this Blizzard machine as well, so that way you guys know how to put a speed control. So the first thing that what you want to do is take the dial off. You need a Allen key to do that, and it's gonna be Imperial again. So it's gonna be it's a 564, I believe. So we're gonna take that Allen key out. So there's 2 Allen keys inside the knob right here. So you just gotta crack them loose. So you got one there. Just spin this around. You have another one here. Okay. Just loosen it. Pause it for a second. Okay, so these things sometimes it's hard to get them off because of all the debris and stuff inside there. So sometimes you just gotta really pull it off to get it off. So there's two Allen keys, one here and one inside here. So try not to lose them. I'm just gonna put this one back in a little bit because it came out too far. Okay. And then your speed controls here and your on-off switch here with your jog is here. So there's zip ties here holding the speed control in. You're going to cut all these ties off. Okay. And in the front here you have a nut, so you can use an adjustable wrench to get this nut off. Okay. And there's the locking washer in the back of it. So you put that there. Okay. So now you have 3 wires going to the control board. Usually each wire is marked, okay? So you have the 3, which is on the top of the control board. And you have a number 2, which is right here. And then you have a number 1. So some people get scared of like mixing up the wires. So there's a trick. What you can do is you can take the other speed control and feed your wires in through the grommet first. Okay, so here's your new wires, for example, and then one by one you can take it off. So here I have a number 1, for example, and number 1 is the farthest to the bottom. Okay, so you take that one off and you can slide it in. Okay, so number 1 is out, and then you can grab the other one, which is number 2, and number 2 is right here. Okay. And then the next one would be your number 3, which is right here on the top. Okay. And then what you do is you can fish out your old speed control from here. Okay, so there's your old speed control. We just fished it through. Okay, so now you take the new speed control, which is over here, and this one's an older one. So the thing is, see here, you can see the it's exposed. So what we need to do is put some electrical tape on this. It's exposed here, so what we're going to do is we're going to put some electrical tape on here. We don't want it shorting out to the body. Then we can put our speed control back over here. Okay. Actually, we got to put our lock washer first in the back. And you want to face the wires down. Okay. Then we're going to take our nut and we're going to put our nut on. Take your adjustable wrench, tighten it. Okay. So instead of putting everything back together and realizing that your Blizzard machine doesn't work, it'd probably be a good idea to plug it in right now and see if our Blizzard machine is working. Just watch the wires here. So you just turned it on. Okay, so your Blizzard machine is working, and we're gonna put it back together right now, and we're just gonna start off by unplugging it, and we're gonna put our bracket in first. And you want to use number 3 Phillips again, because it's a pretty wide Phillips. And these screws do have a lock washer on them. Okay, so our wire just kind of came off there, so we gotta get our wire back on. So we don't want to break our speed control wires. Okay. So here's our bracket, and you can see where you marked it again right here. So you're not trying to play around with it to figure out which way it went. Okay, so now we got to put it back together, and when you put it back together, one problem that these Blizzard machines have is the wiring for the speed control. It can rub against the shaft here of the Blizzard machine, so that's why it had ties on it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put some zip ties for the speed control, and the reason being is sometimes they rub against the shaft of the Blizzard motor, so you got to keep them neat and tidy, and otherwise you can have a wire wear out on the shaft when it's spinning. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put this cover back on, and we're going to use the number 2 Phillips, and then we have our screws right here. So just going to undo the wire here, and then hold the wire. So when you want to put the cover, you want to reach over here and grab the speed control wires through. So you want to kind of fish them through the grommet. what I like doing is I like taking the, I just hold it with one hand, and what you want to do is you want to make sure this cover is over the lip here, okay? So it's very important that it's over and not inside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of the screws here, start them in by hand. Just tighten them up a little bit. Grab another two from the other side. Okay, so the same thing, you want to take the butcher machine and rest on the back towel here so you don't want to kink the line. At the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to pause right now so we can clean all this before we put it back together. Okay, so we're just going to tighten up the screws and then we're going to put it all back together. Okay, so you got the two here. Okay, so we're going to put our towels in the back so we don't kink the line again. So I'm going to put two towels here, put it backwards. Okay, so you're going to take this cover first. Okay, and then obviously you want to clean before you put everything back together, which we already did, but some water came out of here, so we're just going to wipe it here. Okay, so you take this cover, you're going to put it here. Okay, and there's 4 screws. Okay. And if you don't feel comfortable using an impact driver, you can use a handheld screwdriver. And another thing is you want to make sure here this thing is not going to rub against the shaft when it's spinning. One last thing is you want to just look inside here in this corner right here, make sure the wires aren't rubbing against the shaft. Okay, then you put the cover back on, which is over here, and then you can see the markings here where they go, 1, 2. Okay, just line up your speed clips. Okay. Okay, so now you want to put the side ones on. So what I do again with the side ones, I take the machine, tilt it back, it's easier to work on. And then these screws right here, you have to be careful. You make sure you get the right ones. So we put them here, and they have a different pitch on them compared to the other ones. So just put them. What I do is I drop them in like this. Okay, then I can take the drill and put the nut driver on it, and I line them up, and I just spin very easily. Just make sure they go in. You don't want to cross thread them. Same thing, put this one in, put tension on the screw, and then just spin it in. Once you get it in, put your palm on the back of the impact driver and just give it a little bit of a shot, not too much, so you don't damage the head. Okay, so again with the other one too. So you just put them in like this. Okay, and then you get your drill on it. And just line it up and just spin it nice and slow. And you probably never will cross thread it this way. Okay, put a little bit of pressure on the palm. Okay. So the last thing is we want to put our speed dial on. So here's our speed dial. So we're going to zero it out. And we're going to put the dial on. We're going to make sure it's at 0. And we're going to get our Allen key. And I believe this Allen key here was Imperial. So it's a 564 Allen on this older style Blizzard machine. Okay, so just tighten it out. Just try to keep it as close to 0 as possible. So there's 1. And there's the other one. And you can turn the Allen key the other way around. And just give it a good turn. Okay, spin it around. Okay. So let's just make sure we put it in the speed dial the right way. We'll plug it in. Okay. Put it to 0. Turn it on. Okay, so there's our 0. And there's our 100. Okay. And that's it for changing the Blizzard brushes on the motor, changing out the motor, and changing out the speed control.